Well, Patriotic Alliance Deputy President Kunene has meanwhile been re-sworn in as an ordinary councillor for the City of Johannesburg. The flamboyant former MMC of Transport resigned from his position and as a councillor back in July after he was found at murder-accused Katiso KT Molefe's house during a police bust. Kunene was also suspended from party activities, and on Monday evening, PA leader Gayton McKenzie announced that a law firm had cleared Kunene of any wrongdoing. McKenzie also threatened to withdraw from the GNU, as you've just heard in the previous clip, and all municipal coalitions by next week, Tuesday, if, of course, Johannesburg Mayor Dada Morero does not reinstate Kunene as the MMC of Transport. City of Johannesburg Speaker of Council Margaret Arnolds presided over Kunene's swearing in. To further unpack this now, let's welcome political analyst Ms. Khanyi Magubane to weigh in on the developments relating to the PA's ultimatum to withdraw from the GNU if, of course, their demands are not met. So, Khanyi, it's a pleasure having you with us. So let's unpack the PA's ultimatum. Well, Gayton says it's not an ultimatum to the ANC in regards to the GNU as well as other coalition agreements. Does the swearing in of Khanyi Kunene as an ordinary councillor late yesterday then signify that the threat actually worked? And what is then the difference between an MMC as well as a councillor for interest's sake? And also, maybe just before you answer, if you can just weigh in on some of those sentiments and utterances that were made by McKenzie at the Robben Island commemorative events.
Thank you very much. I think that, Gayton is confusing national politics and provincial politics and local politics. And that is the institutional arrangement of our government. And he is a cabinet minister that's sitting at a cabinet level. And Khanyi Kunene is fighting to be reinstated as an MMC at the City of Johannesburg. He's 2 levels below Gayton, and yet Gayton is or threatened using the highest stake of leaving the GNU if Kunene is reinstated. And I think that Gayton was trying to risk too much for Kunene, because at the end of the day, without the GNU, the PA is, I wouldn't say is not as relevant, but they move out of the center of the political narrative or the political center in South Africa, because right now that's where the GNU is. They have positioned themselves quite well within the GNU, and to use that as a threat. What will they do now that McKenzie has been reinstated? They may have been caught with, their foot in his mouth, because he's made all of these threats. He's saying they're not threats, they are facts. Nobody listens. He's been talking for 2 months. Nobody's taking him seriously. And the question is, was he throwing a hissy fit, or was he serious that Khanyi Kunene and MMC is worth the PA leaving the entire GNU? And I think there may also be a convolution of his friendship with Kunene and also politics. He's a cabinet minister at national level. There's a provincial leadership of the PA. They should have been the ones that are fighting Khanyi's battles, not McKenzie.
And, Sis Khanyi, he says they will not be part of a coalition where they are not respected or treated well. I mean, we saw very recently, in fact, I think it was just around the time that, of course, the issues around Khanyi actually surfaced, that Gayton McKenzie was dealing with his own issues pertaining to the K word, of which till this day, we haven't had much directive from the presidency in terms of what was supposed to happen to that. So I want us to focus on this now. The said law firm report that investigated and cleared Kunene, have you seen it? Is it public? I'm sorry to ask you if it's even in the public domain. And what exactly did they investigate in order to reach their conclusion to clear Kunene? It's still sketchy as to the reasons Kunene himself provided as to why he was actually at the house of KT Molefe during that bust.
Thank you for that question, because it does leave a gap, and I'll tell you why. And I'll use the ANC as an example. We know that they have the integrity committee. We know that they have their disciplinary committees and other ad hoc committees that are assembled to deal with issues of misconduct, to deal with issues where things have been asked, to step aside or to be investigated. The PA has never told us of such a structure. which would have been handling Kunene's case, and they didn't give us the terms of reference either, as to what exactly was being investigated against Kunene. All we know is that there was an internal investigation, and this then also speaks to issues of governance within the PA and the organization of their structures. Because as far as I know, I've never particularly heard the Patriotic Alliance tell us that they have a structure that deals with disciplining and investigating their members, particularly those at an executive level. And in the absence of that, we have no real measurable, points upon which he was investigated. He may have been asked to submit a statement, they read it, they accepted it. It may have been something like that, but without a structure that we can point to, then, your guess is as good as mine on the criteria that they use to get him off the hook in that case.
And that's my concern, right, Sis Khanyi, because let's be honest, even if the ANC has some secret deal with Gayton or the PA, surely South Africans should not be forced into these deals. What is the point of fielding someone that is tainted or might even be highly compromised into public office when we are still dealing with allegations of widespread interference by key political and judicial figures, including some business people? And the way that Mr. McKenzie said that Tuesday he will then resign if his demands are not met. What does he know that we are not privy to, do you think?
A lot, definitely, because remember, there's no free lunch in politics. McKenzie is where he is because he's got political leverage, and he knows what that leverage is. We are not privy to that information. And for the mere fact that Kunene had sworn in last night after Gayton made those threats shows you that they do wield some power and they do wield some influence within the PNU, even though they may be a minority member of the GNU, but they do have some power. Now, if we think about Kunene and Gayton McKenzie, for the longest time, of course, before their political careers began, we know they were entrepreneurs, we know they were in business, and they may have crossed paths with politicians and done business with politicians in the past. And there may be many skeletons in the closet that they know and they have information and access to, and they know that that type of information could even end political careers if it should ever reach the public domain. So whatever leverage that they have, they've used it. And for now, we can only anticipate that the swearing in is going to pave the way for Kunene to be reinstated in his position, which analytically I don't think they should have or should have fought this hard for. I think this was a good time for Kunene to focus on election work, to focus on party work, to go back into the Patriotic Alliance as the Deputy President and work on building the party and come back after the local government elections next year on a clean slate. That's what I would have advised, the PA to do.
All right.
Yet there was a need and a push for him to be here.
All right, Khanyi, thank you so much. As always, very insightful debate, then contributions there. That is Khanyi Magubane, political analyst, weighing in on the Kunene and the PA giving the ANC an ultimatum to reinstate Kunene or else they exit any coalition agreements.